every time I went to school in the backyard, there's always a body there.
What?
Then I realized, okay, I'm normalizing something that's not normal. It was very dangerous, even though at that time I did not realize that. This maybe can be a main reason that I end up being an immigrant.
You don't want to live your life looking over your shoulder each time you leave the house. Like, okay, is it me next?
Exactly.
What if the life you are living isn't really yours? See, we grew up with a script: study hard, get a job, start a business, make money, and happiness will follow. But what if you reach the end of that path and feel nothing? Well, that's exactly what our guest realized at the age of 25. He had followed every step laid out for him, only to find himself searching for something deeper. In 2013, he made a bold move, leaving behind the life he knew to dedicate himself to humanitarian work. That leap of faith led him to Malawi, Africa, where he helped build a children's clinic through an independent project called Playing for Africa. The name born from a spontaneous moment, 10 seconds of decision making, and a deep desire to make a difference. For him, everything, whether it's design, photography, storytelling, or even education, boils down to one word: creativity. And that's what led him to publish his book as well, Okondwa, Building Happiness, and what continues to fuel his global impact. Even his love story is rooted in his journey. But his story isn't just about art, it's about reinvention, purpose, and the courage to unlearn what we are told success should look like. In this episode, we unpack his transformative journey, how he checks in with himself every year, the turning point that led him to humanitarian work, and what he has learned about building happiness beyond borders. Please welcome Rafael.
My God, what a nice introduction. You can introduce me better than myself. That's very nice. Very nice. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. Call me anytime. I'm happy to do that for you.
Wow, that's very nice. That's very nice.
Awesome. Very, very excited to have you on the show, Rafael. I just want to give a little background to my listeners. So, I met Rafael at a networking event I went last month to, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's where Rafael was one of the guests. And I said, okay, I have to bring him on the show just because of the stories he was telling on his presentation. I said, okay, this person has to be on the show and share it with my audience. So, very, very excited to have you, Rafael. Welcome once again.
No, thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to share some of my stories.
Absolutely. Let's unfold that. But before that, this episode is part of season two, like I was telling you, and I have a little bit like fun questions to ask you before we get into your journey.
Okay.
So the first question is, tell me what's your go-to breakfast?
My life worked like in the pendulum movements. It's one thing
Okay.
then another. So before I moved to Colombia, before I entered this journey, I had a typical Brazilian breakfast. That is black
Okay.
coffee, a piece of bread, and that's it. Like almost
Okay.
didn't exist. But now that I met the Colombian culture, American culture is three eggs, coffee, and bread.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. And you still follow that till date today?
I still follow, yeah, because it's a lot of protein and it's better. And I
Hmm.
ended up learning that the Brazilian way of having breakfast, actually, not having breakfast, is not
Hmm.
that good. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about a favorite song or a dialogue or a movie and tell us why it's significant to you.
That's a very nice question. I have a lot of songs, but I have one line from a movie. It's
Okay.
called Blood Diamonds. Is Leonardo
Hmm.
DiCaprio with another actor called tells the story about the blood diamonds in some country in Africa.
Hmm.
I don't remember if it's Rwanda or another country, but tells the story of the guys who keep searching for diamonds and how they kill a
Mm.
lot of people. That's called blood diamonds.
Okay.
And there's a part of the movie like going to the ending that I will not give a spoiler, but the one girl calls this main character of Leonardo DiCaprio and asks him, where are you now? Because he needs help. And he replies, I am where I was supposed to be. So
Okay.
that phrase for me, okay,
Hmm.
okay, that makes sense. You are exactly where you're supposed to be, in a meaning that your effort, your choices brought you
Hmm.
here, and you are here where exactly you're supposed to be. Not one step further, not one step back, exactly where you should be.
Absolutely. Wow, I love that. Do
Yeah.
you also keep that as a reminder for yourself at situations? Do you do that?
Yes, because I like to. Before I had a lot of excuses about my life to not being successful or to have a hard time.
Hmm.
So it's
I see.
always someone else's fault, my father or the system or the government or this and that. But I shift that now it's everything my fault. Even the things that
Hmm.
are not my fault, I try to see as my fault.
Hmm.
So in that phrase came like to back up this, like you are exactly where you should be. Your result today, even if you don't like the result, is the result of your effort. So don't blame anything
Hmm.
else, don't blame anybody else. It's where exactly, and you start to see that life is, or the life of people, when you see people complaining or this or that, when you see in the core, everyone is exactly where they should be. Because if they
Absolutely.
keep
Yeah.
the accountability and ask themselves the hard questions, they will be like, okay, there's nothing wrong. I'm here because
Hmm.
the result of my action. So I keep this phrase as a reminder that I'm responsible for my
Hmm.
life.
I love that. Thanks for
Yeah,
reiterating that. We do discuss that a lot on the podcast because immigrants do have this tendency to compare their lives with, oh my God, the person has got the PR, the person has got the job, the person has
exactly.
got this and that. But you don't realize that when it's your time, it's going to happen for sure.
Exactly. For the good or for the bad, it's up to
100%.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, next is if you had to teach one phrase in your mother tongue to us, what would it be and what does it mean?
I would say in Portuguese, segue o
Hmm.
jogo. Segue o jogo.
Okay.
In
Seku
segue
jogo.
o jogo. It's literally
Okay.
keep playing. It's literally
Hmm.
like go ahead. Like in soccer, when there's two players that hit each other and they fall,
Hmm.
so the referee sometimes when they want that the match keep going, he said
Hmm.
keep the game
Keep
playing. I said
going.
segue o
Yeah.
jogo, keep the game playing. So it's a reminder that go on, go on, go on. Like don't let this thing stop the match or the game. Keep going, keep playing. So segue o jogo.
Hmm. Yeah. I feel like there's like underlying motivation there that hey, keep going.
Exactly,
Don't let these external factors stop you. Keep going.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Keep the game, keep
I
going.
love
It
that.
doesn't matter. You can think about it later, but show must go on. Keep going.
Ah, exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
So, lastly, in this section, if you could teleport back to a particular place from your home country for a day or anywhere you have been, what would you do and where would you go?
And could I go back in time also, or just go back to one place? So this is
Sure,
allow us to
I'll let
travel
you answer.
geographically or in time also.
I'll let you answer, whatever you have in mind.
Okay. So I will connect the two answers. I would go
Okay.
back to Brazil when I was like 24, 25, and I will say that to
Hmm.
myself, segue o jogo. Keep going, keep playing. I would say that because it took me a long time to realize that, like 5 years that I could realize in 2 months. I don't know. So I would say that I will back
Hmm.
to Brazil 15 years ago. I don't know, and say, segue o jogo, keep going.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, speaking of that, let me take you back to the time you spent in Brazil. Tell us a little bit about your formative years, the city you were born in, and how was it like just growing up in Brazil?
Yeah, I was born in São Paulo, in Brazil, in a very poor neighborhood and very dangerous.
Okay.
But as a kid, we don't realize this. We don't realize we just keep playing and everything is great. And also I saw one someone said everyone says, my time when I was a kid was the best time, the old times was better. And of course
Yeah.
was better because you were a kid, so you don't have to work, you don't have to worry about the bills, so every time is
Yeah.
better, even though if these hard times for the society, for you was the best time.
It's
uh,
the age which was the fun and the better age, so to
exactly,
say.
exactly.
Yeah.
So even though it was a very dangerous neighborhood and we were very poor.
How would you define dangerous? What do you mean by that?
I have a perfect example for you for that.
Okay.
I met one friend from Denmark. He was she
Okay.
was Danish, and I was talking about my life, and I said to her, that every time I went to school, in the back wall of the school, like in the backyard, there's always a body there, and every week we went there
Hmm.
to see the dead body, and
What?
she got like very scared, said, but I never saw a body on the street because it have been shot or something like this. Then I realized, okay, I'm normalizing something that's not normal.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
remember very clear that uh, going to school, sometimes there's a body over there that some guys got
Oh
shot,
wow.
so there's newspapers over the body. And sometimes I
Hmm.
remember to climb the wall of the school just to walk to see the other body from that someone else. So I remember
Oh
eating
wow.
like a sandwich and looking the body,
No way.
but was so normal for me. Like, okay, that's life. Like keep
Hmm.
the match.
Yeah.
But now I realize it was very dangerous, even though at that time I did not realize that.
Hmm. Of
So
course.
like my father make my mother and my father made it possible for us to cannot see this. They
Mhm.
tried their best to keep us looking to the other side. So I remember my father taking us to museums, to expositions, to do anything in order to us to see different sides of the life and not get
Okay.
that part. So I always said that to my sisters and to my friends, that I was very lucky because
Hmm.
I had some friends that they got shot, they got killed,
Hmm.
problems with drugs or other problems. So I like look to my right, to my left. There's problems. It could be me anytime, and I don't know
Hmm.
why it was not me. So yeah, it's
Okay.
lucky.
Wow. It's definitely dangerous.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my god, I can't even fathom seeing like a body almost like every day, maybe at that young age, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, that is kind of scary and at the same time little weird to me, you know.
Yeah, like what's normal. Like I countless time I was playing soccer on the streets and I heard someone. There's a body. Someone found a body over that corner, and we
Hmm.
rushed there just to see the body and wait for the police to came to do the like
Hmm.
investigation or something. So that's not
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah. So now, Rafael, you are talking it pretty like casually about it or just sharing it with us. But did that impact you in any way? Maybe on your mental health, or maybe your upbringing in any way,
Mm.
or maybe you had this thing in your mind that okay, I have to leave this place. I cannot stay here for longer. Maybe that thought filled
Yeah,
your mind.
yeah. I never realized that, but this maybe can
Hmm.
be a main reason that I end up being an immigrant, because
Hmm.
you grow up seeing that kind of things. Sometimes it's a reminder that I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. It's not safe. I'm realizing this now.
Yeah.
Thank you for the for the input. Like, okay, why? Because
Yeah.
sometimes people ask me why you choose to live in Canada or other country, and it was never clear to me. I was saying, oh, I don't know. Was always a dream. I saw pictures of Canada, these other countries, but maybe there's like a reason. One of the seeds of my decision is to be in this place, in
Yeah.
this scenario, to see some bad things happening around me that I had to to move out.
Yeah, you don't want to live your life looking over your shoulder each time you leave the house. Like, okay, is it me next?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And also, we were discussing this with some friends last Saturday, and we are talking about how Latin people, there's they are always ready to check if someone is coming to pickpocket or something. So, like, we
Oh
are
my god.
wired that every 2 minutes behind you. Like, you go to the
Hmm.
metro, check your pockets. Like, every time. And I
Hmm.
remember one guy come from Belgium. He said, "No, but it's easy. You just put your cell phone in your front pocket, and you are safe." And I say, "I see your vision, but like the public transportation in Brazil, it's so full that you don't have time to keep
Hmm.
your hand on the pocket. You have to grab something." And that's the perfect chance for someone to grab your cell phone
Yeah.
or your money or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, uh,
Yeah.
part of being here is to feel that relief, like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't need to
Yeah.
be uh, that worry so much.
Yeah. No, it's funny you tell about this example of looking over your shoulder if somebody's coming or not, because we all have like certain things. I feel like they are instilled in us and now they are part of us. No matter which part of the world you go to, you always look around or you always behave a certain way, which has been happening in your country. So I totally
Exactly.
understand that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even though it's it's a life skill, but it took a lot of energy from your brain. Like, I should not worry about that. At least it's not in this
Exactly. Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But let's just talk about your life inside the house also. Tell us a little bit about your family dynamics and how was it like just growing up within the family, or was it like a certain pressure to grow up? Oh, I think you were telling me about it that you had to follow like a certain path
Hmm.
growing up. Tell us about the family dynamics as well.
Yeah, it was very nice. Like, the first part, from like childhood to around 11 years old, was very nice. Even
Hmm.
though we were poor, my father and my mother made the best possible choice for us to have
Hmm.
a different life. And I remember, like, we had always good gifts on Christmas time,
Hmm.
good celebrations. I have two sisters. I am like the
Okay.
middle one, so it was very nice. But we have a shift in our life. My father works in a public company, like a train company in São Paulo, and he decided one day that, okay, we are living a dangerous place. We should move out to another city, from more the countryside. And I will quit my job. Like, he was a public employer,
Hmm.
um, and I will open and I will start my business.
Okay.
It was a good idea, but he forgot some. I don't know if he forgot or not. On one
Hmm.
detail, he had some problem with alcohol.
Ah, okay.
And while he was working in a company, see, he only had the chance to drink a little bit every day at night. So that keep him under control. But
Okay.
as soon he starts to open a restaurant in this countryside, and now he has access to drinks every time, it was a wrong decision that ended up killing
Hmm.
him in 5 years. Like,
Okay.
when we decide to move, and we moved to another city, 1 year later he broke up with my mother. uh, three
Hmm.
years later I found him dead, due to alcoholism.
Hmm.
So this comes for the second part. So this first part was perfect, no problem. And when it comes
Until
to this
11.
second part, is totally a mess, and took me like 10 years to at least 10 years to recover from this situation, because we end up losing everything, losing the house,
Hmm.
losing the furniture, have to live in other places, in other people houses, couches. It was terrible. So yeah, it was nice until one point, then later it was not that nice.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. And when during the tough time, did you have any sort of go to people that you had, or like a mentors, or were there people you could discuss your feelings with? Was it anybody at that point?
Not really. And also,
Hmm.
I had to start working when I was 11 because my parents
Okay.
broke up,
What
and
was your first job?
I work in a counter in a drugstore. As funny as it
Okay.
is, 11 years old, I put
Yeah.
like a white jalep like this, and I sell medicaments in a drugstore.
Hmm.
And I had to work there, and that's for just the first one. So I end up like working in construction, delivering furnitures as a painter, a lot of things. From the day I started to work when I was 11, I never stopped until today, except for the
Hmm.
Malawi part in Africa. But we come to that. But it was a job anyway. But I didn't
Yeah.
have any mentors. I was kind of lost. I so I try to listen to some of these people to give me advice that will end up
Hmm.
in that story that I told you, that follow like by the book the rules, like you have to do
Hmm.
this, you need to do this. But I was listening to people not that successful. So like it's not like
Hmm.
okay, this is okay. You are giving me one advice, but let me see your results first to see if I want to follow your advice. But at that
Yeah.
age, you listen to everyone. You listen to everyone. Someone said you
Hmm.
have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this and that. And I was lucky to have some core values uh, given from my father that allow me to not choose some bad paths. But
Hmm.
I could end up in a very bad situation. Some of my friends took that path and end up get murdered. But I
It's
have
funny
some.
how casually, it's so funny how casually you said, "Oh, the path to get murdered."
Yeah.
So casually you just said it. Oh my god.
Yeah. Uh, it, I took long time for me to process this. Then I talk this now
Yeah, this
very
is your coping
easily.
mechanism, so to say.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I would say I had a lot of mentors, uh, even though they were not that good, and some of them teach me what not to do instead of
yeah.
what I should do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You did share a lot about Brazil, educated us on that. But is there something you think people might not know about Brazil that you would like to share?
Last week I had a discussion with a friend, and
Hmm.
he said, what about the immigrants in Canada? Maybe they got insulted, the racism, it's very hard.
Hmm.
And I said, I I don't get offended with that because I don't get attached to Brazil or to I'm not proud to be Brazilian. That doesn't represent anything from
Mm.
me. Like I'm not that guy that said, "Oh, Brazil, it's a terrible place to live." I would say, "Yeah, oh, it's a wonderful place. I will not live here, never." Yeah, don't
Mm.
have no personal feelings from Brazil.
Mm.
I would say,
No doubts there. I can imagine,
yeah, I
considering
would
the.
say
Yeah.
there's everything to be. Of course, everyone will say this about their own country, but it has anything to be the best place to live on earth. But for some reason, the cultural aspect and the way that the people are raised, it makes it very difficult because it's a huge country, a lot of beaches,
Mm.
rainforest, mountains, a lot of space, good weather. If you want to feel a little bit cold, you go to the south. If you want the best beach, you go to north, and there's everything.
Hmm.
But when it comes to society in general, it can be challenging, except if you have a good amount of money. So you can close
Mm.
in your bubble and you live a very good life. But I guess it's the same in all of the countries. So
Yeah.
the only thing about Brazil that we are very friendly. We are very open.
Hmm.
We like to hug and like it's always partying. So we celebrate the immigrants there. So I would say it's a good place. It's a good country. Just uh, take care. I don't know. It's not that
Okay.
safe.
Mm. And have you traveled a lot within the country? Or no?
Yeah, funny that first time I travel abroad, in a lot of different countries. Then I realized, okay, I should travel inside also because I need to and not,
Hmm.
to know more about my country. Not that much. I travel to different states, from a little bit from south and to the north, uh, but definitely I have traveled to more countries than I travel within my country. It's sad.
Mm,
I should not be
okay.
that way, but end up being that way.
Yeah. No, it's sort of the same for me also. I really haven't traveled enough within my own country. The funny thing is that I have met a lot of people from my own country, like from the south, but I come from the extreme north.
Mm.
And coming from there, I haven't really been able to expose to different cultures other than mine. I did meet few people when I went to Mumbai like once, but again I haven't traveled to the south. Then I meet people from there, and then I learn so much about their cultures and even about the languages they speak.
Also, what I
Because
understood that in India you have different languages, right?
oh my
It's
god, we have, Rafael, like around 24 official languages.
wow. So it's possible for you to travel to one side to another and do not understand
Might not know
anything
the
they're
language.
saying. Wow.
Exactly. So the thing is, Hindi is like sort of the national language, but it's actually not, because Hindi is not widely spoken in the south of India, and it's the English which is the common thread between the north and the south. Basically, I would say that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
if I go to the south, I will be able to communicate with people in English, but not Hindi, or obviously not in my regional language, which is Punjabi.
That sounds so different, so crazy to me because
Yeah.
it's the same. I imagine that I go to the north part of Brazil, south, and not be able to communicate in Portuguese. There's different accents, but we speak the same language. That's
Okay.
a whole different level of different culture. Like, yeah, it's
Absolutely,
almost
yeah.
travel
Like
to a different
basically
country.
altogether, yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much culture, so much, like even the food is so much different, in the south or the north. Even I would say the upbringing of the people is very, very different, because I
Mm,
feel like people from the north have a lot of business mindset in them,
mm,
but the people from the south do have this corporate understanding. Of course, they have the entrepreneurial bug in them as well, but
mhm.
it's still similar, but yet very different. It's like
Yeah.
that.
I'm very curious to travel to India because for some period of my life, I met,
Mm.
there's a guru from India called Bhagwan Sri Hajnish. Is Osho. He's
Oh,
no
Osho,
other
of course,
Osho.
yes.
And
Rajneesh, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Hajnik totally changed. I read one of his book called Before, I think in English is Until You Die.
Hmm.
Until You Die. This was the first book that I read, and it blows my mind like completely. And I
Hmm.
ended up practicing some of his meditations. I took some of the courses. I met from a
Yeah.
community in
Okay.
Brazil. So and I think he has an called ashram. Ashram. This is a place. I think
Ashram,
ashram.
yes.
Yeah. So I in my bucket list is to go there to visit this place.
Okay.
Yeah.
You definitely have to visit, my side of the country as well, which is the northwestern part. There's a state called Punjab, if you know about,
Mm.
and you have to go there. The food is absolutely amazing. You will love it.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I love Indian food. It's very spicy, but it's they. I have a friend who came from India some in December,
Come on. I think Brazilian people also eat spicy.
but not that spicy. But the Indian spicy is a whole different
Okay.
level. We have some spicy, but nothing compared to Indian food. I had a friend who brought me some candies from India. There's even one candy that is silver leaf. Like
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
that's very
I love
nice.
that.
And
That's one of my favorites.
and I
It's
ate
made from cashews.
and I ain't imagine, wow, this could be silver in my mind, but I didn't
Yeah.
realize that it was really silver. When I took the picture,
Yes,
I sent
yes,
to him
yeah.
like, looks like silver. I said, it is silver. Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
very nice. Yeah,
There are actually ones with the gold also.
yeah.
There
He
are many
told
with
me like,
gold as well.
okay, so
Yeah.
it's my bucket list also to eat like gold.
Okay. Whenever I'll go next, I'll bring for you for sure.
Okay, okay, that will be very nice.
So moving to your journey now, thank you for the questions. I love this. So, definitely at the age of 25, you realize that, okay, I have to make some changes in my life. And that's where, you decided to leave everything and go to Malawi and work there, right? But that did
Mm-hmm.
not happen like instantly. I was watching your TED talk,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't understand the language,
Okay.
obviously, but I did make the effort to read all the subtitles and I was trying to just understand the whole journey of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And there was so many aspects of it I would like to touch upon it because it was like funny as well and inspiring as well,
Yeah.
starting from you with your friend taking a cardboard, writing their donations for Africa,
Yeah.
and going outside the streets and restaurants and asking for money.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What happened
That
there?
was terrible. Because what like the seed for my that end up me living in Malawi was I have followed all the rules as you said. So I was listening
Hmm.
to everyone around us, around me. So get a job, go
Yeah.
study, go do this, graduation. No, okay, you have to find a job. No, you have to open your own company. Now do this, now learn this and that. So like for 7, 8, 10 years, I was just trying, working hard, studying and this and that. And when my first
Hmm.
company broke, like bankrupt, I said, so what else what I should do because I did this and that, like following like an equation, but the
Hmm.
result was not what I was expected. So
Hmm.
I did something wrong, and the main transformation came from a book. There's a famous writer in Brazil called Paulo Coelho, and I read his biography, and in his biography, uh, it's a very interesting biography because at one point in the past he was like one of the most famous writers in the world, like multimillionaire.
I believe The Alchemist is also by him,
Exactly,
no?
exactly. He's the
Yeah.
writer, like the author of Alchemist.
Yeah.
And like the book starts with the author saying, I want to write your biography. And he said, okay, I will make a deal with you. I have
Hmm.
been tortured during the dictatorship in Brazil. So if you find the guy that tortured me and I can have a conversation with him, I can give you uh, access in my to my life to write your biography. So the guy ended up following, tracking, and found the guy. And after that discussion, the Paulo Coelho gave him a key from like a box, like a wooden box he had. Said, "Okay, you can open this." And when he opened, was his diaries since he was like 6, 7, from 6, 7 to 45. I don't remember like that's exactly age, where he
Okay.
wrote all his ideas, his stories, and
Oh,
experience and
wow.
everything. He said, "You are totally free to tell everything of my life. No censorship. You can do anything." And the author said that when I read some of these stories, I even said, "Okay, I will not move on with this because it's too personal." But he kept going, and the idea was he was very crazy. He tried different drugs, different trips, even different religions. Well, like crazy,
Hmm.
crazy, crazy experience, and end up of him being the most famous writer in the world. And he
Hmm.
always finish every day like he wrote like his thoughts. He finished, "I will be the most famous writer in the world." So I realized,
Oh.
okay, what gave him this opportunity was that he was open to experience. He was not
Hmm.
following any like rules. He was just going. Of course, very dangerous. But then I realized, I said, okay, let's do the opposite now. If I'm going by the book, this side, let's be open
Yeah.
to different experience, and I will see what will end up. But I will not follow any rule, and I end up having different experience with drugs, travel, religions, and everything. Almost trying to
Hmm.
copy this author, uh, and that plant the seed of me trying going to Malawi. So the way I found that I could live in Malawi was through organization. So I said, how can I travel around the world without money? The first thing that
Yeah.
pops in my mind was, okay, I will be a volunteer. So I
Mhm.
went on the internet, how to be a volunteer in Malawi, and pop up one organization I did in the United States. So I even bothered to do a research, like, okay, they are serious or not. To do no, are you accepting volunteers? Yes, we are accepting, but there's a cost of $5,000 to be part of the
Oh.
organization. And I said, forget it. I was just thinking that only a volunteer can work because I'm a designer and I'm broke. I was totally open. And the person said, you know what? We need a designer here to do our communication. Are you open to like exchange? You come here 5 months before your program starts. You provide some graphic designer service and you don't need to pay. And
Mhm.
I said, okay, perfect.
Okay.
So I borrowed money from a friend just to buy the flight tickets, and I arrived there in the United States with only $50 in my pocket. And I remember
Mhm.
they said from the airport to the school, the ticket will be $45. So I had
Oh.
only $5 to stay with me because I was like, okay, open now. This. So after I arrived there, then I realized they said, oh no, for you to go to Africa, a part of paying that 5,000, you need to raise donations to pay for your
Mm.
expenses, and the way you do this is asking money on the streets.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my god. And we start as a groups, like every 3 months there's a different group. And it was a very hard situation because it's a pyramid scam, like you
Yeah.
attract immigrants, they have to raise money, but it's totally a mess. Actually, I later discovered it was a cult. A cult is that
Oh.
place was a cult. It's totally crazy, but we need another chapter just for me to tell you the steps that the cult do for you to fall in the story. And I always, when I saw these documentaries of people saying I was parting of a cult for 10 years, I could not escape, I always think, okay, that's bullshit. You want to leave, you just leave.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
not like this. So they kept me my mind there. So anyways, it's not a story. uh, so in the beginning, I went to the streets with a board, donations to Africa and this and that, and people came, you ask donation, you ask,
Yeah.
you ask. It was very hard, and
Yeah.
I started to question myself, like, okay, I had a hard time in Brazil, but at least I was a teacher in that moment in one university, so at least I could give some classes and I don't need to ask money on the streets. And now I'm
Yeah.
here asking money on the streets and eating at McDonald's. But I met this guy, this Colombian friend called Setulio, and one
Mhm.
day I saw him playing guitar, and I had an idea, and I said to him, what if instead of asking money in the streets, we play music on bars and ask for donations? And he said,
Yeah.
but you can play. And I said, of course I can play. I'm from Brazil. Like
Yeah.
like rhythm is on my blood, but it's totally bullshit. I never played anything.
Yeah.
uh,
I also came across this photograph of you on the streets.
yeah,
For the
yeah.
audio listeners, please check the YouTube for
Yeah,
the
and
photograph.
this picture was on my TED talk, and was
Yeah,
and
that's where
and
I
it's
got it from.
and it's like that picture is the first day I'm asking money on the streets, and this friend, like 2 hours later, he came in to check on me, like, how is the experience going? And while he was approaching, that was my face, and what I'm like,
Mm.
that's exactly like, okay, this was the feeling that I was in that moment. From that moment on, I decided to have the playing
Hmm.
idea.
Guitar,
So we
yeah.
start to like found the playing for Africa just out of the necessity. Like, I don't want to be in the
Mhm.
streets ask for money. I would do anything to have some money, but I would not ask. And he said,
Yeah.
okay, I played, you like go in the percussions, and we asked for some donations, and we did that. We like
Mhm.
playing for Africa was the same, was the first thing that popped in our minds. We create
Yeah, that's
Facebook
so
page.
funny. Like no other name, nothing, just playing for Africa.
It's the most basic English. I mean, and at that time also I was learning English. So what we are doing, we are playing to go to Africa. Okay, playing for Africa, and that's it. And what it was a good strategy because we could
Yeah.
play and we post on. There's the Playing for Africa page was still on
Yeah,
is
I
still on
found this
Facebook.
from there as well.
Exactly, exactly. So there you can see every gag we have, every
Yeah,
show, and we call like this.
I found this as well.
Yeah, that's me as a designer trying to to do something okay, more creativity. So I took one picture from this side, I took a picture from the side for my friend, say okay, now we have a
You look so
logo.
serious in it, you know?
So, but I remember we finished one of the our concerts and one guy came and said, oh, that's very nice what you're doing, let me help you. And he signed a check for, I think, $450 or something like this.
Okay.
And oh my god, so that really can work. Like
Hmm.
people, even though I was inside me, I was feeling very bad because this friend of me, he was very, like, he's a professional musician, so he plays a
Hmm.
lot, he sings very well, and I was like the imposter there, like okay, like following like percussion and tip, 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 tip. But like I feel bad for the audience, even though it was not that
Hmm.
bad. Like okay, what I'm doing here, but end up like we reached the goal after 6 months. We reached the goal and we pay our expenses to go to Malawi, and on theory, that money should support the projects there.
Hmm.
But when we arrived there, it's totally a lie. Nothing works. It's
Oh.
just a bunch of photos, reports, numbers. But when you go really to the fields, we go to visit the families in the project, it's just a story. It's just a story. And like
Hmm.
you call the organization, you ask for the money, they said no, actually the money is spread for all the Africa, for all the projects. It's not
Hmm.
really for you, so it's not that clear. So
Oh
we
no.
end up there, have to live there for 6 months, and no money, no project, and that's it. So it was in that time that we met Tony, that is a community leader there. There's a good friend still today, and he said, if you want to do something here, it had to be by your own terms. Don't expect the organization, don't expect anything. And if you want, I can help you make like the connection between you and the community, and
Hmm.
let's see what they need.
Is this
Uh,
the guy you call superhero in the TED Talk? Is
this
this
is
that
the
guy?
other one, and also that story is very good because there I went to visit a small school there, and there was
Hmm.
a blind teacher for the
Okay.
kids. He was blind, but he teach like a basic English sentence.
Hmm.
And I call him superhero because even though he cannot see on the moment, he could see
Hmm.
the future of the kids, like trying to
Hmm.
improve and trying to give some education. And he had no like a formal salary, like the families
Hmm.
around who give a little bit, and he was able to survive with that. So imagine one guy blind in
Hmm.
Malawi, living from donations from the parents and teaching
Yeah.
kids. So it's like for me, like that's why this experience completely changed my life. For me, that guy is superhero because he cannot
Yeah.
see now, but he can see the future. That's why he keep pushing.
Wow.
He keep pushing the students. From now, from that point, the Playing for Africa that starts with like a band becomes a social project with no plan.
So tell us about that also, where you end up collecting the money for the clinic, your children's
Hmm.
clinic. Tell us about that as well.
So it was very funny because we went to the community to have just a meeting and say we are here to help. How can we support you? And they said we need under five clinic. And they asked that, and they like mostly like mothers, and they wait us to have a response like yes or not. And also
Hmm.
Tony was like the translator, and like
Okay.
we had like seconds to look one another and said okay, let's do it. And I remember when we said let's do it, they start to celebrate, they dance and everything, and there's some videos of me dancing with the the
Hmm.
mothers there. After we finish, I said to him, okay,
I found this one there.
yeah, yeah, this is like the result. Like, yeah, with
I
all the
see.
mothers, exactly like this group. And I said to my friend, what is an under five clinic? How can we build this? And from where we are going to get the money? I had no idea, but we already
Hmm.
promised, and let's see. And then, like, we start to work with what we had. So he had
Hmm.
his guitar, microphone. I had bought a camera in United States. So I say,
Okay.
okay, we can record videos. I'm graphic designer, so at least I know how to put some things like visually
Of
okay,
course. Yeah.
and let's start to tell stories. So our idea was to record one or two videos saying, here we are, is this is what we need, please support us.
Hmm.
uh, but we end up like, hey, there's, for example, this story of this superhero, this teacher. I said,
Hmm.
okay, why we don't tell his story in one episode? Oh, that's one. Oh, what about this one? So we start to recording some videos. It becomes like a web series, and without any
Okay.
plan, like, okay, we have this story here, let's record. And that time I was not that good managing camera. I was most graphic designer, but on editing side and microphone and sound, I was not. I was learning. So when you see the
Hmm.
videos, it's a lot of shaking, and it's terrible. When I look to the, like, oh my god, this is terrible, but it was working. We are
Yeah.
telling different stories, and we get some engagement from that stories, and end up someone telling the another one, okay. And one day we had idea, okay, we need to give something back to people to be part of the project, because I don't
Okay.
know how can we connect. And we had idea that the kids that we would use the clinic could draw like a postcard,
Okay.
and we will send by mail for those who donate,
Oh wow.
regardless of the amount. We will send by mail. So we went. So our like routine starts. Okay, let's go to the small school while this blind teacher was teaching, and we give some piece of papers. And it was very sad because you realize so small details. When we give like the crayons to the kids, they had no idea what to do with that,
Hmm.
because the way of learning was sitting and repeating what the teacher said. So
Exactly.
they had
Yeah.
no skills on how to draw. And I remember asking for the Tony, this community leader, why they're not drawing. And
Hmm.
he said, it's the first time they are getting some crayon or some pencil, so they don't know how to do this.
Oh man.
Like,
Imagine.
like
Yeah.
this is mind blowing. Like something so basic that you never imagined in your life that that could happen.
Yeah.
So for some of the kids, we need to like teach them that it's how we do it, and this and that. So in one side there's a draw from the kid, and behind we said, the other side we said, thank you for your donation, this and that, and we send by mail. So our routine starts to go to school, grab some postcards, write the notes, send by mail, and receive the donations. And little by little we start to have the donations, and after 6 months we could finish and inaugurate the clinic. So it was very nice. I'm simplifying
Wow.
the process. It was not that simple,
Yeah.
but was that.
That's. I was about to say that I'm sure there's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of like trial and error also, like what's working,
Yeah.
what's not working. And speaking of trial and error, that reminds me again my limited uh, understanding of the TED Talk through translation. I was understanding that you posted like one of the videos and you got one of the comments on that where people were
Yeah,
criticizing that
yeah,
you are asking for
yeah.
money, right? Tell me about that
Exactly,
also.
exactly. It's a good point. The thing is, our idea is to record just one video and ask for donations. But here's the catch: we could not put the name of the organization, because the money will go to the organization and they will not give us the money. So we need to
Hmm.
put our personal bank accounts
Contacts,
in
yeah.
Brazil and in Colombia.
Hmm.
And we record a video, and it was like a kind of sad video. You know, that videos that you expect that I give me
Yeah.
some money, so the situation here is very hard, and this and that.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and also we had very limited internet. So we met a guy that was a photographer in other city. So we travel by bus there, give him the pen drive so he can upload our content on YouTube. So like it was
Okay.
very hard. And I remember that feeling that okay, we upload the video, we have the first comment. And the first comment was terrible. Like how these
Mm.
people trying to profit from poverty, from misery, asking money to personal accounts and like destroying us completely.
Yeah.
And but from that point I realized okay, let's reverse this and let's try to tell good stories, like happy stories. Let's try to share the culture, the local culture, and not like the sad part. Was in that moment that I asked the guy, how can I say happiness in the local language? He said Okondwa. I said,
Ah, okay.
okay, so that will be the subject of the second video will be Okondwa.
Mm.
So I would say
I
that
see.
here there's a lot of problems, but there's one thing that is highly contagious, and it is called
Mm.
Okondwa. And from that moment on the video, the video will shift and will be just smiling, dancing, singing, showing that the people, even though they have problems, they are happy, very happy, and end up that Okondwa becomes like the title of everything and the name of the
Yeah.
clinic and the name of the book and the name of the TED Talk.
Yeah.
That just me telling you now is totally crazy because we don't
Yeah.
plan for that.
That's brilliant. I was also hearing you say that there is a certain image showed of the people in Africa, especially like from these lower communities, that okay, there's sadness, there's poverty, and all that, but there's also another side of happiness and laughter in it also, which is a little bit different, right? So you
Yeah.
saw that comparison right there, right?
Yeah, and you feel like at the beginning you feel a little bit guilty, like okay, I will ask
Hmm.
for donation and money, but I will show people celebrating. So we have this image, you know, should be very sad, that kids on the street,
Yeah.
but we subverse that. Okay, no, let's show the reality. Let's not create anything that doesn't exist. Let's show
Yeah.
exactly what is happening here, and that end up being our strategy and end up being very successful because once we put some videos online, one local TV show on Colombia asked us to give an interview. So
Oh.
they send us questions, and we just record the answers there. Then later they edit and post on the TV, and people start to get know more about the project. That someone from Google got to know the project. They invite us to talk with the Google employees like 1 year later. So things start really, really to
Hmm.
grow, and it was very nice. Like it was, and also because we were doing exactly what we did before without knowing. Like Setulio, my friend, he took charge of the songs on the audio on the part that he
Okay.
knows a lot, and I start to create stories, draw like the design, the reports. So I said okay, even as a graphic designer and a storyteller, you can work in social projects. Like there's no limit,
Hmm.
and we end up like the
Absolutely.
two we
Yeah.
had, we could finish the project.
Yeah. Wow, Rafael, absolutely incredible. I
Yeah,
love these stories, so much to touch on. And I actually admire your work, and also the courage to kind of like get out of your mechanic life and
yeah.
do something different, getting inspired from the author as well, and then doing something of your own. This also sort of inspires me also that okay, I can also do something like this. I can at least try. I don't know how
Exactly.
successful I can be, but there's no harm in at least try and contributing to these communities. So kudos to you, for doing that and continuing to doing that. You are still working on many social projects, right?
Yeah, actually, I continue then because once you live there and you make friends, you cannot just
Mm,
only go back to your country and
absolutely.
forgetting about that. And also, for me, the hardest part of being living of living in Malawi was the time to come back because you start to
Hmm.
have this comfortable life. Even though in Brazil, I thought I was poor, then I
Yeah.
discovered that I was not that poor.
Mm.
Uh, you start to compare, like, okay, I will buy a cell phone now, but this costs, I don't know, $300, and with this amount of money there, I could do this and this and that. For you, you live in like a in space that is very dangerous, because you don't live even not there, nor
Not here.
here, and you
Yeah.
compare the currencies, and you feel guilty just because you go out to buy a pizza or something, and you compare with the people there. So I managed to overcome this, and I
Hmm.
keep working, keep trying different projects. So I tried a podcast. There's a podcast called Okondwa.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that I my main idea was, okay, I will create a show where people can donate freely for each episode, and with that I can have the money to go there. But to do a podcast alone, you know how hard it is. Me
Oh, I
talking
know
to
that.
myself, I get zero donations. Okay, okay, I don't have time to keep doing this. Then I try crowdfunding.
Hmm.
That actually, that picture that you showed me with the girls, the mothers and stuff, was a crowdfunding that I tried to do, and I could raise any the amount necessary. So I keep trying. Then
Hmm.
one guy said that this is funny thing about life. Some people comes to our life just to say one phrase, one sentence, and go out. That sentence completely change your point of view. And the guy said to me, you know, imagine the situation. There's a group of people in a hole on the ground,
Hmm.
and your mission, you are trying to get these people out. But you
Hmm.
doing that by jumping on the hole and trying to
Hmm.
push people out, and you end up being there alone. So instead
Mm.
of you jumping there, you need to be strong here and lay your hand and push these people out. So,
I
in
love
other
that.
words, fix your incomes, fix your savings before trying to save someone else. I said, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm not a religious person, but
Hmm.
I believe, like, when you decide to do something, you said, I'm going to do something, the universe, I don't know, starts to happen, and I start to have some very good clients. I start to have more money, and 3 years later, I had enough money to go back there and to build the second clinic, and now it's a clinic and a school in the same place.
Oh, wow.
So I went there. Was very nice. So it was less stressful because I didn't have to ask money to no one. Like, okay,
Mm.
I'm paying for everything. I sent
Yeah.
money to Tony. He managed the workers and everything. The government gave us the land. Was like a really partnership. And I went there just for the last 3 weeks of the construction, to have the
Hmm.
inauguration party and to see the clinic. The second clinic is called Chikumbutsu. I always ask them to give the name, and
Yeah.
they said Chikumbutsu, and I said what that means. They said remember us. I said that's
Mm.
perfect. So
Wow.
now Chikumbutsu,
Beautiful.
it's a vaccination point chosen by the government, because we put solar
Okay.
panels, there's electricity, there's a small refrigerator, and so they can give vaccines to the kids. So they have local health assistance here, and a school on this side in the same place. And
Hmm.
beside that, there's a side story. And Tony, when we were leaving Malawi for the first time, I asked Tony, "What is your dream?" He said, "My dream is to
Mm.
study and to try to get out of poverty." Actually, he works for that organization,
Okay.
and he was and the organization was the second biggest employer in the country,
Oh, wow.
only lose for the government. So it's a
Mm.
way to keep people on poverty. I remember he received at that time $25 a month,
Oh.
and like I run the numbers with him, said I can save $5 a month. And when I went to
Hmm.
check, like, the semester on a university was $500. It's not that much, but
Oh,
to him, like, it's impossible.
of
So that
course.
is the kind of thing that don't let me sleep at night if I don't do anything,
Hmm.
because coming from like a hard reality, a hard background, I know how hard it is. You want to change your story, you have the mindset, you can do cold plunges, you can do this and mindset that. But if you don't have any tool to give the step one, you're done. So I always picture
Yeah.
myself as Tony. Okay, I wake up like very motivated. I will change my life. Okay, so you can save $5 a month. It will take
Mhm.
you 10 years for you to be able to pay just one semester. So
Yeah.
that thing like desperate me. Like, okay, that's that's hard. That's my mission. I need to give the basic tools. So I
Mhm.
found a friend that sponsored the Tony's education. So Tony finished the high school, then they went to college, they later a technical, and later he finished university. So for the next
Mm.
4, 5, 6 years, we keep paying him his education. He got a very good job, but and here's the catch again: when COVID hits, the first part of the first project that is cut it off by the governments is social aid projects. So he worked
Mm.
for the UNICEF, and like, okay, now we don't have any more money to fund it, cut
Oh.
the program. And he like, in a country, unless I think less than 1% of the people get access to university, he holds a
Mm.
university degree. And even with that, he is like, he was 8 months without a job.
Mm.
So I say, so it's not a matter of I will study here and this and that. It's more complex than that. So
Yeah.
that end up creating the second project, that is a farm. So I said to him, how will cost for us to buy a piece of land enough for you to share with 4 different families, and
Mhm.
from there you can grow food for yourself and and sell the surplus. And from that we can try to have a sustainable farm. And we run the
Yeah.
numbers. What I did, I paid for the whole project, but I asked from some investors to lend money for the families. So my
Okay.
my deal was, okay, we have these 5 families, and I have some posts
Mhm.
of this on my Instagram. So
Mm.
choose your family, choose the amount of money that you want to lend for this family for a year, and they will take this money. They will buy seeds, fertilizer, anything they need, and after 1 year, they can pay you back without interest
Okay.
for now, but you can have your money 100% back. If you one family fails to pay, the whole group will pay you back. And if the whole group fails, I will pay you back. So there's two
Okay.
levels of security. And I get some investors, mostly my family and friends. When and now we it's 1 year and a half of the farm, and it's going well. Still, the numbers doesn't match. Still, we are in loss because I took the money, we invest, I paid the money back for the investors, but the first year was not that good. So
Mhm.
we are still in red, but was enough for them to have food, to at least guarantee like the food for the families to learn.
Mhm.
And now we are going to the second year of the farm, raising pigs,
Mhm.
planting maize, rice, potatoes, and they are like doing good. My plan is to have more farms like that, that they end
Mm.
up they can have the food for themselves and to sell and to have some profit. And beside that, I'm sponsoring 4 girls educations. uh, I said to Tony, we need to multiply your leadership. So
Mhm.
I need you to choose 4 new Tonys. But this time, let's go
Mm.
with girls, because here, like, it's very hard for women. And he chose, like,
Mhm.
he talked to teachers. We found 4 girls, and 2 of them are studying to be nurse, and I think the other one changed to administration, business administration or something. And in this model, I'm paying because there's no way they can have an investor that can pay back.
afford it. Yeah.
My point is, I'm trying. I'm just trying. As long as this is the kind of business that even if it fails, end up doing good because it's
Yeah.
changing the life of someone.
Yeah.
That, that's
You
that's
are
okay
you
for
are
me.
not only trying to fail, it's incredible. You're doing much more than that. And bravo to you, for doing that. Hats off.
Thank
I
you.
totally admire you. Like I said, I read about your journey a little bit, but just listening from you, the work you have been doing, I'm so inspired. And I think my audience is gonna love this story,
Thank you
love
very
this
much.
vision and the mission you are on. And if any of our listeners, would like to contribute to this or just gonna join you in some way, they can lend a helping hand to you, where they can reach out
They
to you
can
or
find
connect with
me
you.
on my Instagram. I think you can put on the description of the
I'll
episode.
put that. Yeah.
Um, and the way sometimes people write me like, I want to contribute, how much and what they need, and I always tell
Mm-hmm.
they are always needing some input or something, to pay for these girls' education. These girls need mentors. So if you are able
Mm.
to, and it's not that costly. A semester for one of the girls, I think it's $800, including
Mm-hmm.
transportation, food, and some basic materials.
Mm-hmm.
So I was seeking some mentors that, because they need to be, to held accountable also, because, here is my
Yeah.
grades, I'm doing good, I'm not, I'm paying attention to the classes. So there's some ways, if you want to be a mentor, you can pay from one of the girls' educations, or if you don't have enough money to pay everything, you can just donate, for one girl. Or if you want to send some money to the farm, they always need some input. They are trying to raise different, to grow different, crops.
Okay.
The way that I work, I don't have for now, organization, and I'm,
Mm-hmm.
because of this terrible experience that I have with this other NGO. I'm
Mm-hmm.
avoiding to have an NGO. But some people
I
said you
see.
should start organization because it's the way that people can transfer money, invest in this. Let's see in the future. But for now, I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to contribute, just write me. And I managed to send their donation to Tony. And there's always an update there on my Instagram photos, what they are doing, their families. And it's very nice. I feel like those who can, have the tools and the resources to do something and don't do anything, I think that's
Mm.
sad. That's sad. I feel like, okay, you are sitting down in a pile of gold, and you could, like, it's just one small amount, change generations.
A
Like,
little bit goes a long way.
exactly, you can change generations just sponsoring one girl's education. And if you not do that, i feel I feel sad, because, I don't know, for my personal point of view, I say, okay, so why are you having this money? So why are you getting these tools just for yourself?
Mm.
I think it's
Yeah.
just too small.
Yeah. Okay. I'll put the links to contact Rafael in the show notes for our listeners.